how much do you worry about growth and what that means for, how Italy will give an idea of what they want to do for the G20?
Well, obviously, we are monitoring the situation continuously, and we have started with this scenario analysis. It's very difficult to make forecasts in this period, and they are dependent on assumptions, and the assumptions are clearly the ones we are verifying on a daily basis, but we cannot change our projections on a daily basis. We do scenario analysis, and they also, in the most difficult case, they somehow confirm the idea that there will be a recovery going on next year, but we will not be back to a pre-COVID situation before a couple of years at least. There is an issue of confidence, but there is mostly an issue of how this contagion will develop. So we are here to consider the risks of stop and goes, and we will have to avoid too early withdrawals of policies. The exit from the emergency measures is one issue that we have discussed a little bit in our G20 and IMF meetings, but this will be a major issue during the Italian presidency of the next G20.
But, Governor, if we don't have a vaccine, is there a danger that 2021 once again becomes a year lost in economic terms? And what does that mean for where you want to take the G20?
Well, obviously, the legacy and the way forward from the pandemic will inevitably be at the center of the finance track of our presidency. We have to ensure that policy responds in an adequate way, and that, as I was saying, measures are not withdrawn too early, and it has to do both with advanced and less developed countries where there are relevant issues of increasing poverty, as has been discussed, and distributional resources. At the same time, we have to consider, however, the conditions under which it will be safe to exit, and be careful of financial stability risks, some new financial stability risks that go beyond the ones we have experienced so far in the banking sector especially, and which have to do with non-bank finance, where lessons taken from the periods we have been living in since 2018 have to be transferred. This said, however, most importantly is to have a new way to grow in the future, and therefore the major transformations that we are considering now have to be lever on, and one of them is digitalization. The Italian presidency will consider the effects of digitalization on how to make it a more effective vehicle for productivity, and how to somehow consider digital innovation also in the payment and financial services with increased awareness and competencies, and a more adequate approach, I'd say, to regulation, supervision, and consumer protection. These are all complementary areas of intervention. And finally, obviously, we cannot forget the climate change and sustainability issues, and our presidency will certainly bring them back to the center of the debate. These priorities are really on the finance track, in line with the main objectives of the Italian presidency, which our Prime Minister mentioned recently, with the 3 Ps, that is people, planet, and prosperity.
Governor, talking about prosperity, what will need to happen for the Italian economy to really grow, to get out of this? Do you worry right now that we could have a double-dip recession?
Well, first of all, the issue is first a conjunctural and secondly a structural issues. Obviously, we have to fight the conjunctural. We have been observing better data than expected for the third quarter. But as I was saying, the stop and goes are going to be there. The increase in contagion was considered, but its effects may be worse than expected on average. So we have to be prepared on that. And this means that policies have to be remained extremely accommodating on the fiscal side, as well as on the monetary side, as we are prepared to do for the euro area at large. But Italy has major structural problems it has to deal with. I've been mentioning them many times, so it's hard to repeat them, but clearly this is the occasion to improve substantially, also with a good use of European funds, issues like the effectiveness of public administration services, with more innovation and better training of young people who are going to enter into force, and innovation, spreading of innovation. Think about the broadband, high speed, which is really not diffuse in the country, and education at large. Also, obviously, the third leg of the European objectives, that is environmental, is crucial for Italy. Crucial because climate change effects are here, and we know them, but also because we have a natural heritage. And to that, obviously, cultural one, which has to be preserved, maintained, and for the better use of all.
But are you confident that actually, the recovery fund money will be spent wisely? I know you mentioned a couple of points where they could be spent. And how should investors actually look at Italian debt sustainability?
Yeah, well, first of all, it has to be spent well. It is part transfers, but most of it is debt. So debt has to be to have a good use in order to be effective. Italy, the debt of the Italian debt, I said many times, is sustainable. The issue here is a burden of debt. There is a high burden of debt, a little bit less this year than last year, about 2.4% of GDP, with interest rates currently, however, much lower. The Italian Treasury is issuing bonds at 10 years horizon at, say, less than 1%, 0.8, I suppose. So in the process, there is a trend of reduction. The issue here is growth. And the return to a balanced budget when the emergency will be over. I'm confident on the fiscal side. I think at the end, on the fiscal side, Italy has not really missed that much. The big problem has been really the ability to grow. And to grow, you need really to invest in human capital and in technology. So these are the issues on which the European funds have to be used. I think that the government is aware of that. Obviously, there will be discussions and compromises will be made, but at the end, the important thing is how these will be used for public investment to be effective and timely. And I have to be confident that this will take place.